Do you believe that they'll permit that Cabrakan to go through again?
Not so sure. Cabrakan is really out there and strong right now. His engagement potential is good. His level 1's good. And he provides a great front line for his team with plenty of CC. And that's one of the reasons why Cabrakan is consistently banned at the moment. But getting through here over Susano and Skadi, I'd rather see a Cabrakan get through than Susano and Skadi. So
that's
where the issues, right?
Lesser of two evils. Yeah. I can see that all the way through. That was absolutely perfect by Elevate. And I think one of the most important parts as well was when they had the Cabrakan combination alongside of the Vulcan. You have a god that you want so much set up for, and when you have the walls provided to you, it makes it so much easier. Just even if the Vulcan ultimate isn't immediately coming out, you still have a meatball, you still have your backfire, and all of those factors combined, it just begins adding up damage by damage.
Exactly. With the Cabrakan combo with Vulcan is something that people overlook, but what happens is the walls get dropped down, and because of that, you've now got to move back on yourself the way you've just come to try and escape the walls. But as doing that, the Vulcan, the Earthshaker comes down, so it keeps you inside the circle even longer. Then you add Tremors in the mix, and it spells death most of the time.
And that's just never a fun time for anybody involved. You don't want to have to consistently worry about this Cabrakan just messing up the entirety of your backline. I mean, just zero room for Strictly Business to try and punish.
This squad, though, Sacco, has really come to play today. Like, you can really feel it from their side. They're technically the underdogs in this matchup, sat at 5th seed with how their season's gone, but they've got a lot of players on this team who are pretty solid. I know it says ElevateDoctorL is in the mid lane there. It's actually oBoronic in the mid lane and Dr. L's in the jungle, just so you guys at home know. But yeah, that squad has actually come out and done good things so far. I hope Dr. L gets that Cabrakan again if possible. That'd be really useful for him.
Well, if they keep this up, then I don't think that they're going to be considered the underdogs in this matchup for much longer. I mean, when you have the initial standpoints of a member like Boronic to help lead your team along, and it seems as though the Elevate family that he mentioned, their chemistry is definitely there.
And Checo, he's one of those members of that team. Rookie year for him, so he's finding his way into the Pro League now. Got memed quite a bit at the start of the year because everyone was calling the team name Checo something, but he's finding himself into the Pro League now, and so they can't meme him anymore.
I did quite enjoy Checo as the new Black, though. That was
pretty good.
That was a pretty good one all around, and I almost wish that Elevate could have thrown in ElevateCheco or at some point in time just to like add on to the name, just for the moment, just relive the nostalgia.
But what he ends up doing today is going to be very impactful depending on how well his lane opponent will do here as well today. Keji in the Hunter role, he's got big shoes today as well to make sure Checo stays in check. And if Checo pulls anything crazy out, he's got to be ready to handle it.
That's actually another thing that I wanted to know is we saw Checo turn up for sure in that last game on the Medusa. I mean, even at the end of the game there, he got, what, like a quadra kill? Yep. He was just completely a monster on that snake. And now you've got Keji on the other hand, who I just don't feel like he was really able to be a factor as much as Checo was throughout those team fights.
I will say I like the comms from Strictly Business. The communication in that game was very, very strong. It was clear that they had a call of get out, get in. And they all made the same call together. So that's a good thing. But now those calls have to be even better. Not only get out, get in, they have to make sure they're executed even better in these team fights.
And execution is definitely going to be on the lookout for the side of Elevate because they want to execute the second game and make sure they take a clean 2-0 of this set. And with first pick going their way, they're actually opting to take away the Susanoo immediately.
And this time, Strictly Business probably need to ban away the Cabrakan as well. Luckily enough, Elevate have banned Susanoo for them. So take Cabrakan off the table for Strictly Business and then give Elevate an even playing field. It does leave Zeus open though.
Zeus might be on the table still if Strictly Business were to opt for the Cabrakan ban here. And there it is. They don't want nothing to do with the Cabrakan. Just too much setup, too much in your face. And I do like the adjustment to the bans.
This could potentially be the first upset of the day, though. That's the key here, is that Elevate are not expected to beat Strictly Business based off seeding. Elevate came into this at 5th seed out of North America. Strictly Business were 2nd seed. And right now, Elevate are 1 game away of knocking out that number 2 seed of North America.
And you know what I really like about Elevate's first pick choice here is we just saw Checo's phenomenal performance on this Medusa, but that's not necessarily a dual lane Medusa. And picking it for the first pick, I mean, you have tons of setup control. It's got fairly strong lane dominance at the starting points, so it could potentially even go to the mid lane.
Well, we get to see a Fafnir for the first time this LAN so far. I mean, we saw quite a bit of it from the Gauntlet side of things, but Fafnir back in action now. And I'm surprised they didn't look for that potentially last game, like the adjustments though.
Well, we did see the Fafnir from Young Homie earlier today,
right.
but he didn't necessarily have the greatest success on it, but hopefully Strictly Business will be able to potentially pull this one back out. And if the Fafnir execution is combined alongside of the Bellona setup, then that could really turn teamfights in their favor.
Really surprised to see Elevate go back to that Vulcan again. Obviously, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But at the same time, Zeus was available. They could have locked down for himself, and with a Khepri, Zeus Khepri Medusa combo is a fantastic starting draft for them. Went for Vulcan, which is a little bit more tricky to execute, but if it goes off and starts going well, it'll be fine.
I think a large portion of that is also due to the fact that oBoronic seems to have made Vulcan a bit of a staple character for himself. It's certainly a guy that he seems to feel the most comfortable on, and in a LAN environment, comfort is probably what you want the most, especially considering how well his game #1 performance was. Because even though he wasn't necessarily finding the pinpoint Vulcan ult every single time, he was forcing actives and he was landing the rest of his kit, and that's what really matters.
And zoning matters too, but Elevate should ban Zeus here. The other reason I'm saying Zeus again is because against Vulcan, it's a good matchup for Zeus to be in the chain lightning bounces to the Vulcan and the turret, which means the turret isn't as useful for a Vulcan as it would be. This should be a Zeus ban for me right here.
I would like to see a Zeus ban as well, just because even though Elevate could potentially have a strat against the Zeus, which is perhaps the reason why they've let it come this far already, it's still an unnecessary risk. Like, there's just so much potential for the Zeus burst to come through, effectively pull the Khepri ult from Elevate, and then without that Khepri ult, and even if they force it, you still have Thanatos lurking in the air, and there it is, the Zeus ban.
I'm pretty sure Strictly Business now may look towards Scylla as the mid lane option now with Poseidon taken out as well. There's not massive amounts of mid laners really available for them. I like the fact they went for Anhur now to hold just to check where that Medusa's going. Obviously, it's more than likely in the Hunter role with Vulcan being drafted in, but I think they can hold off and wait for the last bits of comp before they work out which mid lane they want to throw in here, Strictly Business.
Plus, you also just, we don't have a solo laner locked in quite yet for the side of Elevate, and so putting the Anhur locked away, that's a fairly safe Hunter pick to deal with vast majority of solo laners. It's got excellent shred capabilities, especially depending on what kind of build you're opting for. We've seen a lot of the players already today leaning more towards the transcendent side of things, and Anhur is certainly a guy that loves going 1v1, and that's exactly what you need to do, I think, against Checo.
Definitely, and with Checo playing the Medusa now, I think the Anhur pick is the right one. Elevate really going to have a good hard think about this because they need a solo and a jungle here. Vamana for the solo lane, not a real surprise there. And the Morrigan coming out. Okay, that should be a jungle Morrigan, I'm guessing then, which isn't something we see too often.
It's not something that we've seen very often, but I absolutely love the selection here for the Morrigan because now they're going to have the availability for potential double revive from Khepri. You've also have the double Vulcan ult, but more importantly, that double Medusa ult could be absolutely devastating in a teamfight environment, especially if they keep taking up fights in those narrow
But you're talking about what the Morrigan can do with gods on her team. If she turns into Thanatos, she's going to get an execute, which means Elevate have an execute on their team too. Not only that, they also have an I'm a monster in the late game if they need it. So a lot of versatility with this Morrigan pick. The problem being, though, is how well the early game goes.
Well, I'm definitely excited to see how this one is going to pull out. And Indy, who do you think, looking at these two rosters right now, who's going home with this one?
I've got to go with Elevate here. I think they're the stronger team overall, and I like them more than Strictly Business. Kappa, we'll see.
Well, we'll certainly find out. And for now, we actually have Tolly and Anhur to bring you guys game #2.
The Morrigan here on console for Dr. L. I'm excited, Tolly, because just hearing what they were saying on the desk, so much versatility from this pick. It's all about how well Dr. L can play with all of the options available to him.
So many options. So many, like global ultimate on the Thanatos. You can even go guard. Like, we haven't seen Morgans go into the Guardian, but imagine the Fafnir ultimate for Elevate with their composition that they already have, right? They have the Vamana and the Khepri for that frontline. Morrigan can provide you that burst damage with just her regular abilities, but then transforming into the Guardian, now the rest of your backlines can just keep following you up.
That's true. I mean, transforming into Fafnir could be really, really good as the Morrigan, because the biggest problem with Fafnir after he transforms is his cooldowns are a little bit long, right? But you just de-transform at that point. You just turn into Fafnir, throw your 3 abilities, ult as Fafnir, throw your next 3 abilities, and then you turn back into the Morrigan and you're good to go.
So then you have 10 abilities, and then once you go back into the Morrigan, you have 3 more. So you have about 13 cooldowns in about 25 seconds worth of time.
That's crazy. That is absolutely crazy. Excited to see what Dr. L and the rest of Elevate can do this time around. A little bit surprised to see that oBoronic goes back to the Vulcan, even though it was really, really strong in game 1. Elevate had the opportunity to go for Zeus instead, but electing for the more late game oriented option, at least this time around. Dr. L and oBoronic should get the majority of the pressure here in the mid lane. The 2 ranged auto attacks, so key just in terms of getting early pressure.
Especially utilizing that passive out of the Morrigan. And I feel like oBoronic went for the Vulcan instead of the Zeus, just having more space control with that turret to be able to secure some of these objectives. But it was really smart for them to ban away the other option.
Reminisct getting very low in that solo lane. Does have a health pot, and of course using Thanatos' innate sustain, courtesy of his passive. Going to be able to heal up if he can find some jungle camps to clear out, but Elevate's taking care of that option. Speed buff already stolen. delnyy gets the enemy blue as well. Elevate off to an excellent start so far in this one.
Not looking too good for Niquid and Reminisct, still sitting in that soul lane, and with right side mid Harpies along with the Fire Giant Elementals. Elevate are literally commanding every single camp in that soul lane. However, they will lose their red buff in the process.
MichaelCheco trying to get off to as good of a start as he did last time around, where he ends up with a quadra kill at the end. More importantly, a W for Team Elevate. Checo, a LAN newbie. This is his first time here at LAN, but you can see how excited he got after just one victory. Are you concerned at all about someone who, maybe get a little too hype here at LAN?
No, not at all. Considering that they only have one best-of-3 set today, they can focus all their efforts on this match against Strictly Business. And then if they do win this next game, relax. Look at the next set, who's going to be the winner between Obey versus Optimus. And that's, considering the way he poised himself during the comms at the end of the last game, despite being a necessarily LAN rookie, he's not playing like one at all.
Not yet, at least. Chillvanus in that duo lane side, poking his head over there. He's the one with the red buff, actually. Ended up picking that up off of the invade. Both left side buffs still standing here for Strictly Business, but they're more worried about this contestable objective, the Oracles. They've stayed standing for quite some time, usually taken off the map by the 2.5 minute mark. But SB's got a lot of farms still available onto the map here, Tolly.
Considering that they invaded the red buff earlier, they wanted to min-max the red buff to make sure that they would have it ready for the next red buff invade. But surprisingly enough, it was Chillvanus that picked up the red buff, whether or not that was intentional. A Fafnir with the red buff does a little bit extra damage, but taking that away from MrTeep on the Scylla and Keji on the Anhur, you're not having the same kind of impact.
MrTeep had a good early game last time around, but fell behind in the mid stages, ended up being pretty far behind in terms of just level and XP. Do you like this idea to put him on a later game character like the Scylla and hope that his early game might not be as impactful, but that his late game will be significantly better than it was last time?
It's all about the executes here between Reminisct and MrTeep. One is lethal, the other doesn't have to be, despite whichever one it is. If you can find the Reminisct to land on the target, get the death site, MrTeep can easily follow up with the Ama monsters. Now, the early game versus late game conversation for MrTeep is fine as long as he can find those executes. Strictly Business have to coordinate together to get the ball rolling.
Right now, Elevate's got the ball in their court. They won game 1 of this set, and as Tolly mentioned, they will move on if they can find this W to face the winner of the defending world champions, Obey Alliance, and Optimus Gang. Optimus Gang now the only hope for Europe, as Rival got eliminated by Soar in the set previous to this one, so going to be a lot of European eyes on that set, but Optimus Gang, they've got a tough task totally up against Obey.
Not an easy task to take on the world defending champions out of Obey Alliance, but either way though, back to North America, Elevate versus Strictly Business. Still in game number 2 here, 4-minute mark. A lot of action in the soul lane thus far as Elevate are looking to consistently invade. This is the second time thus far that they're invading the soul lane.
Yeah, Dr. L gets the speed and the blue with the help of delnyy, and so what you expect to be the Thanatos getting pressure on that right side early, it's actually been taken to him. Gold Fury thought about getting started up there by Strictly Business, while Strictly Business thought about starting up the Gold Fury. That objective usually doesn't have a say in what's going on. It just kind of follows the rules. But that ward there from Elevate, enough to dissuade SB from hanging out around that corner trying to catch a member of Elevate unsuspected.
And Strictly Business are positioning themselves looking for these picks, but not fighting as Elevate because of the perfectly position ward right on top of the Gold Fury. Not too many sentry wards this early in the game, so you can get away with a regular ward just right on the Gold Fury pick, because that's a very common spot that you will decide to ward, so sentry wards are very common in that area just to prevent you from having that vision.
Is this slow start to this game more beneficial for Elevate or strictly business? Because they both have some good late game options.
I believe that it's going to heavily favor Elevate on this point, because despite having MrTeep on the Scylla, we're seeing a Morrigan for DoctorL who can easily take the same option. Thanatos is going to slowly fall off in the late game. Medusa is going to do more work than the Anhur will at that stage anyway. And Boronic's not going to fall too far behind in terms of the damage output.
No, certainly not. Vulcan, not usually thought of as this late game hyper carry mage, but can absolutely fill that role just in terms of his regular abilities, let alone that ultimate that can absolutely just one-shot someone in the late stages of the game. Almost 6 minutes in here, both teams still content to just farm up their waves, but Elevate getting the slightly better end of that farming deal. Only up about 800 gold, but that's before any first blood shenanigans really come out. It really speaks to the amount of control they've had on that right-hand side.
Just a slow and steady climb for Elevate between the gold and the experience department. More of it is on the solo jungle side, as delnyy has this one-level lead over Nikwid playing the Bellona. And we saw what delnyy was able to do with the Bellona despite being behind. The question is, can Nikwid do the same thing in game number 2 here?
We talked about Nikwid playing a lot of Guardians coming into game number 1 where he piloted the Hercules, but back in Season 3 when Nikwid was still coming onto the scene, Bellona was one of his signature gods, so you know he's pretty comfortable on it. Excited to see what he can do with it this time around. DoctorL looping around the back here. Keji doesn't know this is happening. Love the idea from Checo to play it normally. There's a stun coming out of DoctorL, who then transforms into the Medusa. 1 petrify, 2 petrify. DoctorL knocks down Keji for the first blood.
What happens when you turn around from one Medusa? There's another Petrify waiting for you right around the corner. You're guaranteed at least 1.5 times the damage of the Petrify damage. But look at this, delnyy, he could tie this. There's no mana for Nikwid.
Oh, but delnyy doesn't have any cooldowns. It was so unfortunate, almost able to find the solo kill there, but Nikwid does have that teleport available, so he's going to be able to get back without losing too much farm on that right side.
The timing, though, not really favoring out delnyy because the Gold Fury is being started, the rotation, trying to defend the speed buff. Kenshin looking for a potential pull, but a nice little disengage from the Fafnir.
I liked the idea there from Elevate. They knew the speed buff timer and they knew Reminisct would be there trying to secure his first one of the game, so they head over to that Gold Fury side, but SB knew exactly what was going on. So Reminisct basically just ends up getting his own buff for once, as Nikwid actually got his own buff as well. delnyy started it up, but got it stolen away by the solo laner.
Nice teleport from Nikwid, being able to secure his own buff. Vamana still with a cooldown of about 70 seconds of that teleport. The rest of his teammates able to secure those Fire Giant Elementals. Not able to really continue the pressure, trying to go for that bigger objective in the Gold Fury instead of the more guaranteed ones. I'm thinking that they were more afraid of strictly business, potentially sneaking that Gold Fury instead.
They do have a lot of vision on that left-hand side, though, Toli. Look at the ward coverage here for Elevate. They've got one on the top left Harpies. They've got one around the Gold Fury as well. Have the opportunity to burst it down with this composition, especially if DoctorL wants to teleport, transform into someone like MichaelCheco or even Keji, who could help them burn that Gold Fury, or maybe even Chillvanus on the Fafnir, give his team a coerce buff to try and knock down that objective quicker.
Also, Fafnir provides a lot of in-hand damage in that draconic form. It wouldn't be a bad idea. Honestly, there's a lot of options once those cooldowns are not available any longer. Chillvanus trying to contest those oracles, but it did go in the way of Elevate. Gonna have the vision for a little while, so that means they can extend in the mid lane or any side lane, despite not having to worry about strictly business sneaking that gold.
Last time around, it was DoctorL who was a little bit behind Reminisct in terms of farm. This time, Reminisct is a little bit behind, but Checo's got to be worried about who's coming behind him in this lane. Almost catching out there is Chillvanus, but able to dash away. Checo going to stay safe and let SB know that he's not scared of whatever they're throwing at him. Throws a couple chuckles their way.
Just a little bit of a giggle from the Medusa player, and I'm really surprised at how effective that earlier gank was from DoctorL with MichaelCheco, and I really would like to see that more pressure onto Keji, because last time it was MichaelCheco that got ahead in that duel lane. This time it's been the opposite story. Keji's that one level advantage because of just how much pressure Elevate has been putting in that soul lane.
Gold Fury down to about 50%. Reminisct still in the mid lane trying to handle it. There's the ultimate on Bellona, but the Gold Fury gets leashed away. It's completely healthy. Chillvanus up into the Draconic form, but everyone from Elevate just decide to back up. I'm a Monster was used there by MrTeep to try and steal that Gold Fury away, but it just went back to its pit. No one was in leash range.
Elevate used 2 ultimates, while as Strictly Business only invested 3. delnyy trying to contest those elementals as the Fire Giant is spawning at the 10-minute mark. Still a relatively good game for Elevate, getting off to a nice little early start here. But no real response from Strictly Business as they're able to hold on to the Gold Fury, but not able to make any offensive plays quite yet.
Oh, no one really in position right now to defend this totally. MrTeep is close, but doesn't have that I'm a Monster. DoctorL immediately goes for him and gets those Purification Beads with the 3 aspects. Keji's here, but also doesn't have that Desert Fury. DoctorL uses the Changeling to turn into Medusa and force out Keji with the Petrify. Gold Fury goes down in favor of Elevate without any real bloodshed.
Great zoning and great vision on that solo lane, recognizing the fact that Nickwood was still there without the teleport at that time, was able to invest all of their resources onto that Gold Fury. DoctorL even investing into that Medusa to be able to zone out Keji. And with that Portal Demon, at least Strictly Business get a little more gold in their pocket.
delnyy almost got the objective and the kill on the Nickwood, but that meditation coming out from Chillvanus saves the life of his solo laner, who almost has the chance to get a meditation of his own if he so chooses, though could be Thorns like he went for last time around. Again, this Mystical Male build when you're behind is it can be difficult to finish off, though we saw how big of a power spike it was for delnyy in game 1. This time, Nickwood going to try and get the same sort of boon whenever he finally finishes it off.
An aggressive option for Nickwood, but even more aggressive is DoctorL going into the Doom Orb out of the jungle. Normally we see this in the mid lane when the front line pressure is available to make sure that you're not the one that's taking a lot of damage, but out of the jungle, sometimes it's you that's required to initiate, and that's a lot of confidence coming from DoctorL, especially considering he used to be the soul laner that was playing a lot of Warriors and Guardians, now playing a squishy mage.
Yeah, the Morrigan with Doom Orb, just one of those. Morrigan sometimes fills the role of initiator out of the jungle almost, using that stealth and getting in there with the stun. Doom Orb not going to be able to save DoctorL's life in terms of any protection. Most Morrigan jungles we see go for a kind of bruiser hybrid build, a lot of boots into Dynasty Plate Helm into Voidstone sort of options, so definitely a risk here for DoctorL, but on the plus side, the Morrigan does a gross amount of damage. She can really burst in the late stages of the game. DoctorL is trying to get there a little bit sooner than most Morrigans do.
Absolutely. The risk versus reward has certainly paid off thus far for DoctorL, is that he has that 1 kill onto Keji in that gank, in that dual lane, as well as helping out get that Gold Fury. Not to mention, with the amount of burst damage coming from DoctorL, he could also look to go for a tankier option once he goes into that ultimate. He has so many Guardians to choose from.
The other thing is that in the jungle, Doom Orb, you don't have a wave to farm up consistently. You're only getting a couple. There's a stun on a Reminisct, and the knock-up as well. The backfire, not quite enough to knock up down, but oBoronic was looking for the ult. Can't quite find it. Reminisct going to be able to get out of danger thanks to that meditation again from Chillvanus.
But Reminisct does have the back, which gives Elevate a 5-on-4 advantage in the solo lane. Meditate being popped by Kenshin. delnyy going into the big baby, and just like that, Strictly Business, they couldn't contest that tier 1 mid tower.
500 more gold goes the way of Elevate. Their gold lead now about 3,000, despite only having 1 kill. Just all around the map, the objectives seem to be going Elevate's way without SB really saying much about it.
All calculated tactical maneuvering just to apply a little bit of pressure onto the jungler, getting him out of danger, and with a 1-man disadvantage, Strictly Business didn't want to commit in a 4-on-5 disadvantage, allowing Elevate to get that 500 gold. But now they're not getting anything in return. You know, there was 2 ultimates invested into that play. One from Vulcan just to try to get the kill, and one from the Vamana to ensure that tier 1 tower. So with a 5-on-3 ultimate advantage, Strictly Business needs to capitalize on this difference.
I think that Kenshin is a guy we talked a lot about in Season 3, taking a lot of these rookies, bringing them to land, showing them how it's done. Got a lot of praise for it, but he didn't have the same success early on here for Elevate in Season 4, but this game really, I think, speaks to what Kenshin means to this team. The veteran presence, the calming veteran. You could hear everyone else on Elevate yelling when Checo's getting the quad, and Kenshin still calling out targets for him to hit whenever they're knocking down the Titan. Really, really impressive play thus far out of Elevate.
That's usually how most Guardians are, honestly. They're just like zoned into the action. It's like, I got trips, I got taunts.
Oh, we're all doing Jeff Hinla now?
We got to do the Jeff.
I love the trips and the dubs. It's just like, that would hype me up, man. If I just heard trips coming through, like I'm playing Zeus, something like that, and you get the trip taunt, I'm in, bro.
It's like you're in a casino and you're pulling down the lever.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, Jeff should come and cast my casino playing days. Those are gone though, because no more casinos for me, at least for now. Right now, Elevate up 1-0, 15 minutes in. Not a lot of fighting in terms of player damage or kills on the board, but quite a bit in terms of throwing their weight around the map, and Elevate has certainly looked to do that early and often. Their team comp, at least according to my man Mr. Tully over here, is favored in the later stages of the game, so the fact that this is playing out pretty slowly is not a bad thing for the team in blue.
Especially with Kenshin having this Rising Dawn to mitigate a lot of the damage from Strictly Business. A Meatball not on the mark to be able to steal away the red buff, but posturing around the red buff and the Gold Fury is Elevate with it now respawning.
Actually, that Meatball knocked the red buff out of leash range and made it immune, so even though oBoronic doesn't get it, almost made a cheeky little play. That Doom Orb, only 39 stacks, and DoctorL hasn't been dead or, you know, getting those stacks reset. It's just taken him this long to get up to that number. And again, it comes back to the fact that there just isn't a consistent wave for DoctorL to farm up with that stacking item. So still trying to get the most out of his Doom Orb. Gold Fury gets looked at by Strictly Business, but again, just without an advantage, this is a tough call to pull this objective against a team that has a slight lead against you.
The gold deficit and experience. Kenshin finding the pull onto Nickwood, taking a lot of damage from that Meatball. Backfire getting rooted into place, but going into DoctorL, into the Bellona. Eagles rally in the backline. MrTeep, Reminisct having to go in the air.
Oh, Nickwood's gonna fall. Number 2 now for Elevate as they march on down the middle lane. Chillvanus gets exploded by that Dark Omen from DoctorL. 2 fall, the tier 2 tower in mid likely to follow as Elevate continue to blank Strictly Business. Keji finally shows up to the party, but it's far too late.
Way too late. Great recognition from DoctorL going to this aggressive frontliner Bellona. We were talking about just how squishy this Morrigan really is, but when you're going into the Bellona, it doesn't really matter, especially when you're going into one that has these items available to you. The Eagles rally, you're using the aura now from your opponent to your team's advantage, so delnyy and MichaelCheco get those protections and damage.
Teep has to beads and get away, just watching Elevate secure another Gold Fury, number 2 in this game. I think that brings him to 5 or 6 total in this set. Elevate's objective control has really set them apart from Strictly Business so far in this quarterfinal matchup. 6,000 gold in the lead now.
And this is a difference of a 6,000 gold lead this game compared to the last time that they had this kind of lead, which was about the 24 to 25 minute mark. Elevate are really escalating this game at a very rapid rate with Portal Demons still available. This is going to be the next option.
Look at how much HP DoctorL just got from one back. He was sitting on that fortified scepter for quite some time. Backs, gets the ethereal staff complete, and almost finishing off what's likely to be a Polynomicon. Scary stuff now that Morrigan's going to hit even harder after finishing off those Doom Orb stacks. Nickwood going to eat the stun coming out of DoctorL as the rest of his team focused in on the Portal Demon. Kenshin there trying to get into it. Let's take a listen to SB as they try and take the fight to Elevate.
Vulcan, they're gonna get it. Yeah, I got it down. Can you hit delnyy?
Delny's throwing stun. My bad.
They're gonna push left here. Good med.
Big damage.
They're
grouping left.
I still have execute. They're gonna come to 4. We look for 1 hit. Yeah, on me. I got it. Morrigan.
I have book.
I have execute, but Checker's not even low enough.
We were supposed to be listening to SB, and we were. That's who we were listening to, but all I could hear is Kenshin in the background saying, we could fight this, keep going, constantly just pushing Elevate forward. And you gotta give shoutouts to DoctorL, the former solo laner, transforms into a solo laner, and then just lays it on the table for SB to just back up because they can't handle the Bellona even when they're on their own team.
Just reminding everybody that, hey, I am still a soul laner, zoning away 4 members while the rest of Elevate was able to take away the original Bellona of this game. Nikwid was in a really bad and awkward spot, not really having the sustain available to their team compared to the last game, as Chillvanus is playing the Fafnir now. As the poke kept getting heavier and heavier, everybody just wanted to disengage from strictly business. All their ultimates were invested towards the defense, only Reminisst having that hovering death, but didn't even use it that whole time.
Game 1, it was DoctorL kind of falling a little bit behind. It was oBoronic and MichaelCheco really setting the tone and winning that game for Elevate. This game for me, Toli, DoctorL has been all over the place. He's been setting up for his team, and his just general attitude in this game, no fear, going in, stunning the opposition, building Doom Orb, because he doesn't care about the damage you're doing to him. I absolutely love this game out of DoctorL.
The trust in your teammates has to basically go so far to like the next Cosmos to invest into a Doom Orb out of the Morrigan jungle, because what if you die then? Where are you getting your stacks? But it doesn't matter because of the early start coming out of Elevate. They were able to successfully constantly invade the speed and the blue on cooldown for at least the first 2 to 3 times, and that's what really shut down Reminisst and Nikwid in the early stages.
Tier 2 towers traded out on the left and right by Elevate and SB, but Keji's in a lot of trouble on that right-hand side, chased down by delnyy. The Aegis buys him a moment. It does have the purification beads on cooldown as well. 20 more seconds till those are good to go. Look at oBoronic wrapping around the back. delnyy gets impaled there. Desert Fury coming out from Keji, but he's trying to do as much as he can before he falls. delnyy ultimately does chase him down. oBoronic helps knock down Teep as well. Both fall on that right-hand side as SB still without a kill. 6-0, 21 minutes in. Elevate up over 10,000 gold.
Elevate going off of the mid Phoenix, recognizing that, hey, if we get these 2 picks to these people that just got our tier 2 tower, we can get the better objective on the Fire Giant and then secure that middle Phoenix anyway, having no fear. 5-on-3, securing the Fire Giant, very low. Having to retreat is Nikwid, using that Eagles Rally along with that Meditate, but the rest of Elevate, they're grouped up. Not going to chase this out despite having the 2-player advantage. Instead, looking to invade the blue and then look to regroup in mid.
Patient play coming out of Elevate thus far. Again, the calming veteran presence from Kenshin, definitely a big part of what allows Elevate to do what they do. Right now, they're trying to move on and play in that semifinal match. They'll be awaiting the winner of Obey and Optimus Gang if they can close out this game. With the way it's been going, it looks pretty likely. SB does have an opportunity, though, if they can win a couple team fights in the later stages of this game. That right side Phoenix is exposed, Toli. And sometimes when you get really deep into the game like this, well, not like this right now, but like we saw in Soar and Rival, all it takes is one team fight win to really knock down the Titan.
That's true, especially when you have a late game damage. If you survive a team fight while deciding your opponents, it doesn't really matter if there's 4 towers remaining. You just go down that right-hand side, the Titan exposed. After that, Phoenix gets demolished, and there goes the victory. But getting to that point is going to be difficult because Strictly Business are going to have to deal with a 13,000 gold deficit and a Fire Giant gathering of Elevate.
oBoronic and Checo both have red buffs available to them as they they siege down this left side. No more towers remaining anywhere on the map to defend SB's base. They got to rely on the Phoenixes and the Titan. Nikwid has a lot of HP in that build, but Checo doesn't really seem to care. He's got that crit anyways. No chin size for the Hunter, who has had a much more quiet game than game 1, but not in a bad way. Sometimes you just win the game in different ways. Don't have to do the same damage every time. A lot of damage there onto Chillvanus. oBoronic certainly swinging at this stage of the game.
Nice little slow from delnyy. Not wanting to commit quite yet until the wave crosses that line on the left. Chillvanus using the ultimate, diving the backline is Nikwid with the Eagles Rally, trying to defend. DoctorL, though, taking a lot of damage. Vulcan over the top, not really connecting on anyone.
But it creates enough space for the left side Phoenix to fall. DoctorL finds number 3 as he finds Nikwid with that kill. Aegis saves the life of Checo from that I'm a Monster. DoctorL in trouble from the dunk down from Reminisst, but not enough to find the kill as SB still with a big old goose egg in that kill column thus far. Left side Phoenix down. Still 4 members here from SB to defend this mid Phoenix, though, Toll.
But it's still Kenshin with his Scarab's Blessing. Didn't really respect the damage out of the Thanatos, taking a lot of damage. Pulled back in is Keji, but focusing the mid Phoenix. Checo finds it. The meatball knocking out the Anhur.
Nice and spicy. Oboronic finds number 8, Reminisst. Finally puts SB on the board as Checo bites off a little bit more than he could chew. But only one structure remains standing, and that's this right side Phoenix. Kenshin does not have that ultimate any longer. But look at Boronic's positioning, coming behind Reminisst there. No one gets punished for that aggressive play. SB trying to hold off the siege. Elevate looks like they still want this.
They want it, but they don't have MichaelCheco for another 30 seconds. That's a lot of damage that's not going to be available for this right side Phoenix. delnyy leading the charge, diving the backline. Is Nikwe getting stunned out in the blotch, knocked up as well, having to retreat.
Kenshin is in execute range. Reminisst finds him, number 2 for the jungler. delnyy zoning away the rest. The Vulcan ultimate out of Oboronic is big, but not big enough. A nice root crush combination from Teep forces out the Aegis, and ElevateDoctorL and delnyy forced to turn tail and run. They get no right side Phoenix damage, but both in the mid and left. Couple kills, but not enough to finish off the game.
Trading out Kenshin for realistically nothing in advance, just going for a damage check, I think, more than anything else. If they win that fight, they win the game without MichaelCheco, but they don't really lose too much. Only Kenshin down for another 10 seconds, but the difference between Kenshin's respawn timer and Fire Giant is about 55 seconds.
So plenty of time for Elevate to regroup around that objective and snag that Portal Demon away, give them an extra avenue back if they get low in any given engagement around that right-hand side. I don't mind that call from Elevate to try and push that Phoenix because they do have DoctorL who has the Polynomicon. They can really augment that tower push from a distance, not the usual physical assassin who has to get right up next to that Phoenix. You've got a couple members with the ranged auto attacks. Double Obsidian Shard as well as a lot of damage with that Fire Giant buff. Either way, Elevate doesn't get that right Phoenix. They will get this Portal Demon Fire Giant due to respawn in just about 20 seconds.
And with this portal, able to go back to base to pick up some of those 500 gold potions, along with the Sentry Wards, makes it very difficult for Strictly Business just to leave their base. Both their left and mid lanes are exposed. Fire minions constantly flooding down the lanes, having to defend that by at least 1 person per lane means only 3 people from Strictly Business can realistically defend this, at least safely.
Well, I don't know if they're even going to get a chance totally, because Fire Giant's respawn, and Fire Giant, it's almost dead, already to 50% within a few seconds of spawning. No one from SB on screen even trying to get in there and steal away the objective. 5 more members with Fire Giant for Elevate. DoctorL going into that stealth, trying to find anybody who might be out of position. But SB knows they can only sit in their base and try and defend against this last siege from Elevate.
It's looking really good for Elevate as they're about to close out this set and move on to tomorrow's semifinal. Strictly Business, though. This is do or die for them.
Let's listen into Elevate as they try and move on to the semifinals.
Trust me on this, guys.
You don't, just use the high freely.
Let them send somebody left, and then we go in.
Vulcan's gonna, I mean, Thanos is gonna own here.
Look at the left Phoenix. Look at the left Phoenix.
Yeah.
Go in here, go in here, go in here, go in here.
Okay, now, this is over there. Grabbing.
One shot.
Wait. Come on, let's go. I'm at it.
End the game, 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 end the game.
Let's go! Let's get it, boys! Clean! Okay, that hurts a little bit. Still have him.
Farm him.
Nah, you're coming out of there. Alright. Easy!
Moving on to the semifinals to take on the winner of Obey and Optimus Gang. They take down the top seed on their side of the bracket, Strictly Business.
Not able to really make an impact at all in that set. Elevate making quick work of their opposition, looking very happy as MichaelCheco next to that veteran Kenshin, leading the charge for his rookie LAN players.
Love the communication there between Kenshin and the rest of the team. He's saying, wait until someone's on that left-hand side. That's what you usually hear from these veteran players. And Elevate, they listen to the call, and it ends up working out pretty well. These guys definitely didn't have the greatest start to the split. Oboronic was in the jungle, didn't really have a lot of success there, but moving DoctorL over into that jungle, had a phenomenal performance on that Morrigan here today. really, really shows that Elevate is still on the up with this team.
Very impressive play from all of Elevate. Really surprised to see just the diversity of the options that he went for with the ultimate, between the Medusa, into the Bellona, even the Vulcan at the end there for even more spicy meatballs.
Always ready to bring out something interesting as Elevate. Well, they've got another set to do. That's going to be tomorrow for the semifinals. But how exactly did they move on? Taco and Hindu are here to break it down.
Thanks so much, Aggro. And what an incredible game number 2 from Elevate. Just absolutely dominating performance.
The way to win the game of Smite is to get objectives and overall crumple your opposition. That's all they did from minute 1. Right from the get-go, they just focused on objectives time and time again. Wasn't many kills in that game, but what you are doing is putting the Thanatos on the back foot the entire time. And the Thanatos on the back foot, he can't allow his team to get established. Keep rotating around the map, look for the objectives, and that's how you win the game.
And that was probably one of the most noticeable factors as far as Strictly Business was concerned, was you pick a Thanatos, but you don't have any other pressure from the early game to really help him snowball along with a lead like you would want to try and establish. But snowballing was...
I was going to say, the only lane that could have had pressure was this duo lane here. But the fact that there was 2 Medusas in the lane because DoctorL turned up there, and then there's just continued this game going forward to allow Elevate in a dominant position.
And Checo, again, showing up once more on this Medusa pick, absolutely dominating. And alongside of DoctorL, both of the way that they just synchronized their ultimates and utilized every single bit of their kits was just beautiful to watch.
And there's not much you can really talk about Strictly Business here, because Strictly Business this game, they didn't have anything to really talk about. No anti-heal to do with Vamana whatsoever in that composition until very, very late on. The draft as well, you sort of talked about Thanatos there, and like he didn't have any pressure to really make anything happen for them. And they were only reactionary to everything that Elevate were throwing at them. But the bad news is that Elevate had such a big lead that when they were trying to react, they were always too late.
Yeah, it actually took 27 minutes before anybody on the side of Strictly Business, and that was Reminisct actually on the Thanatos, who started, it looked like he was trying to build into the brawlers. I'm not actually certain, considering he never got the chance to finish it off, since Elevate was just completely manhandling Strictly Business the entire time.
Exactly. In 22 minutes in that game, we had three Gold Furies and 1 Fire Giant in the way of Elevate. Meanwhile, Strictly Business had nothing. They'd not even got a kill by that point. And that's just one of those games where you can't even look at one of the objective calls because there was no contest of those objectives. They all just went to Elevate for free.
And we talked about the itemization and the lack of anti-heal as far as Strictly Business was concerned, but how did you feel watching some of the items that we saw coming out for Elevate?
For Elevate, I mean, there was a little bit out there for the most part. DoctorL going for that Doom Orb. I mean, it didn't hurt him in the long run. It took him a while to get it stacked, and it's one of those things that you're feeling confident, so you pick up a Doom Orb and try and run with it. Could have been punished, but it wasn't at the end of the day, so that's okay. There was opportunities, though, the Strictly Business could have looked at to get back in that, like focusing the Morrigan's Doom Orb stacks to make sure that item is not useful.
Well, confidence and momentum certainly went the way of Elevate the whole way through, because even though the kill count ended up being low by the end of the game, you don't really have to worry about that when you have a Vulcan who has so much objective control, and that was really the main thing that I noticed for Elevate, and probably the primary reason why oBoronic kept opting to pick up the Vulcan was so much objective control. You just can't fight into that.
Yeah, with the turret, it allows you to get a lot of room to reposition yourself. The turret can actually tank for you, but it also creates a window that the enemy can't really come into without taking 3 damage over and over again. Vulcan's zone control is fantastic. On top of the ultimate to secure.
And I mean, I just have to point it out again and again. Not only was oBoronic able to be such an annoying nuisance with the meatballs flying everywhere, but the setup that he had from his team as far as support play is concerned, I really just want to emphasize on that, because consistently those Khepri revives just completely stopping any sort of tracks. Because typically when you see the Khepri resurrect go, that's gold, like that's a green light completely for Thanatos. But every single time we went into the comms and we actually listened to Strictly Business, he's just like, I still have my execute, I still have my execute, but he had nobody to execute on. And when you can't use Thanatos, what else are you meant to do?
I know, that's the worst issue, is that you are Thanatos, but if you don't have pressure, you don't get the damage off, you can't use the execute valuably to actually counteract the Khepri one. And most of the time, the Khepri one wasn't even needed anyway.
Well, I mean, just overall, again, Elevate, well played, excellent job knocking out the second-seeded team coming into this SCL Spring Finals, but now that will spell the end for Strictly Business's run for the Spring Split, and I'm sure that they are more than excited about their win this time around. And so without further ado, we actually have Kenshin alongside of Aggro to break it down.
Thank you very much, guys. Kenshin, congratulations, #1. They said it on the desk right there. SB was the 2nd seed out of North America coming into this. Did you guys feel confident anyways in this matchup?
We felt confident the whole time. Once we saw that SB was the team that we were going against, not it's just confidence. We just felt really confident that we could take them. Our seeding was pretty poor. We didn't have the season that we wanted.
Yeah.
So knowing that SB was definitely the best we could have pulled out of that, we could have been 8th and got Astral or something like that. So it was good for a confidence boost, and we're feeling pretty good headed into tomorrow now.
I mean, you were talking to me right before this interview about how SB, they've got 4 LAN rookies. You're a guy who's been to a ton of LANs, probably near the top in terms of console players who have been to LANs.
Yeah.
How do you convey to your team that, they might be nervous, and how do you take advantage of that?
That's exactly, our draft reflects that exactly. We said, okay, this is their first time at LAN.
Sure.
We're going Khepri, we're going Bellona, we're going Khepri. We're going to go as aggressive as we can, make them nervous, make them jittery, and just force the issue as much as possible.
I mean, but there wasn't a lot of in-their-face aggression in Game 2. It was a lot of come in and fight us, but they didn't seem to want to, so we'll just take objectives instead. Is it difficult to kind of change strategies on the fly like that?
Yeah. It was weird because Game 1 they had the Vamana, so we were always concerned, can we keep this fight alive long enough and fight into the Sylvanas heals because we weren't able to burst them just yet at the very beginning because we need Vulcan to get online. You need the Khepri to get a couple items to burst them down. But once we had that going, we had the Khepri aura, we had the triple auras on me. We were just too tanky. They couldn't kill us with the Zeus. I had the shell rolling.
Yeah.
We survived any hard initiate that they put down, and we just went right back in strong after we meditated.
Well, you talked about how the beginning of the split wasn't exactly where you wanted to be. You guys had some different role swaps. Talk to me about Oboronic in the jungle compared to how he is in mid, and the same goes for Dr.L. What's he like in the jungle now that he's gotten a little bit more comfortable there?
Absolutely. I'll start with Oboronic. Oboronic jungle. Oboronics amazing jungle. Oboronic can honestly play any role in the game. But when it comes to jungle, he's more quiet. He's one of the more quiet players, so he'll still make the correct plays, but he's quiet. So being mid is just way better on him because he just needs to sit there and hit the abilities that are CC'd and stuff, and he just does his thing. Look at his Vulcan. And then Dr.L transitioned to jungle. At first, it wasn't, where we wanted to be yet, but he plays all day and all night, and look at that Morrigan, man. He's honestly stepped up his game so much in jungle, and not only just mechanically, just his comms, working with, because now he's working with me directly. Before he was in the solo lane.
Sure.
So our comms were never directly influenced to each other very often, me being support and him being all the way over there. But now that we're calling the core fights and everything, it's amazing. I love it. I
mean, you mentioned that Morrigan. Again, we were talking a little bit before this. He seemed to be one of the more versatile Morrigan players that we've seen in competitive play. Most of the time we see Morrigan, it's a very, cut and dry game plan. I'm transforming into this god at this time, and I'm using their ultimate. But he was transforming into Bellona. He was transforming into Medusa, Vulcan towards the end. I mean, this guy seems to be able to do it all out of that.
Oh, yeah, he's situationally aware with Morrigan. But unfortunately, if he does really well with her one game, he will do really bad the next game. So don't worry about banning it. I don't think it's an issue at all.
You don't have to worry about that. Yeah, no, just give them, you can leave that open. They totally won't pay.
Yeah, he always does really well one game and then really bad the next. So, I mean, I wouldn't really worry about it going forward in this tournament.
Obey and Optimus Gang are setting up, so make sure you tell them that whoever wins, so that they know, just in case. This LAN, you've got a LAN rookie of your own, MichaelCheco. There was a lot of hype around this kid when he was coming into this split. What has he brought to your team?
Besides for a lot of feeding, actually, he performed at LAN better than I expected him to.
Yeah.
He was firing on all cylinders. Checo is the kind of guy, when we play scrims, he has his headset on, listening to horrible music. I don't even know what he listens to. He barely talks. He legit doesn't talk in scrims at all. We actually win more scrims when he doesn't say a thing. But today, his comms were actually really good. He was very he was just firing all cylinders. Not only just mechanically, his comms were great. He was making great calls, and we were just following through and listening to him, protecting him.
How does this team compare to the Aware team that you assembled in Season 3? They're kind of similar. I mean, you've got a lot of same members here this time around between Oboronic and Dr.L, but what is this team dynamic like compared to the one you had on Aware?
It's weird because, Cam was a big part of our comms before, even coming out of just the ADC role.
Sure.
Where when we switch that, we have Checo, who is really good in the 1v1 matchup against any other ADC in the league. So we get more, I guess, dominance on that side, but we lose the comms.
Okay.
So we lost the comms. So for a while we were struggling, if you saw in the season.
Yeah, of course.
But when we switched Dr.L to jungle, our comms came way back. Like they're getting better every week. Even still, we're not done yet. So just our comms have improved dynamically in our core fight.
Well, that's great,
is
man.
what I would say.
Congratulations on moving on to the semifinals. Do you have any shout-outs before we let you go?
Shout-outs to Pat and Elevate for everything they do for us. Shout-outs to my team, oBoronic, delnyy, Cabes, and Visions. That's it.
That's it. That's everyone on the
That's
team.
it.
Yeah, no
Yeah,
one
that's
else.
everyone on my team.
No one else gets shout-outs. Well,
Nope.
congratulations, man. You guys are going to have a great matchup up against whoever you face in the semifinals, and we're going to have to determine who that is right now. It's going to be Obey versus Optimus Gang. We got the desk to break down the matchup.